Okay, so this is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Fire Commissioners. It's Tuesday, August the 1st. We generally start at 9 o'clock, so we're not that late. It's 9:10. Ms. Gomez, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Hudley Hayes,
Here.
Lugich,
Here.
Babcock,
Here.
Hara,
Here.
Woods Gray,
Here.
Fire Chief Crawley,
Here.
Deputy City Attorney Linda Nguyen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Chief Crawley, would you begin for us?
Everybody stand, please. Hand over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing to join me in a moment of silence in honor of our past and present members of the Los Angeles City Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
I want to ask my fellow commissioners, do you want anything changed, or are you comfortable with us going through the agenda as printed? Just so we can let the public know there's no changes, no differences. Okay. So first up, we have commission comments. Are there any commissioners? Jimmy?
So I had the pleasure of attending the promotional ceremony at Hotchkiss, and there were 9 civilian employees who were promoted, and there were helicopter pilot 1 and helicopter pilot 2. So there are a number of helicopter pilots promoted this time. Captain 1, there were 13 promotees. Captain 2, there were 19. And we had 14 new battalion chiefs, which I think probably is a record for the number of battalion chiefs all in one ceremony. And then 2 deputy chiefs, Jason Hing and Jamie Moore. And I thought it was a great event, great turnout, and
I wanted to acknowledge the retirement of Chief Hogan because I was not able to attend his event the other night. And Chief Hogan has done so much for this department. And I remember when we first came, how he moved that podium around when we had presentations. He handled it so well. And then from there, he went on to do many other great things. But he's helped so many people in this department. And I could always count on him if I had a question, too, which was really an asset. So I want to congratulate him on his retirement, thank him for all the services, that's years of service he gave to this department. I mean, he went beyond the duty sometimes, helping other people and filling spaces and doing a lot of things that were not on the record, but they were valuable to this department. So I want to acknowledge Chief Hogan and wish him the very best in his retirement.
Thank you. Sharon?
Yes, I wanted to just report that I was able to go on a paramedic ride-along last Friday in Battalion 11 with EMS Captain, don't tell me, Felix, Fire Station, out of Fire Station 13, and it was really eye-opening and amazing, and I thought I knew how busy paramedics and EMTs were, but these people were going out on calls every 3 to 5 minutes, what I observed. I went on a lot of different incidents, and they were professional and overworked and stuck at Good Samaritan Hospital. I saw 4 ambulances stuck at Good Samaritan Hospital. One pair of paramedics had been there for more than an hour and a half. It just was really, and I talked to I spent a lot of time at the station afterwards talking with the members and hearing their ideas about how things can be improved and how being a paramedic or an EMT can be more sustainable, because it seems like as it is right now, nobody's going to last, 5 years, much less 30, like some of our other members have been able to do over time. So it was really eye-opening, and I really appreciate even more all the work that you all do. So thank you so much for arranging that for me, those who were involved.
I do have some comments. On the 20th of July, which was probably one of the worst days of my life, I had to call 911, and I had to have an ambulance dispatched to my home. My husband is very ill and had had a stroke, which we didn't know at the time. Firefighter paramedic Kane Dunn came, and Ricardo Para came to my home. I want to begin by telling you that neither one of these men knew that I was a fire commissioner. So the reception that I got and the work that was done and the care that was taken, I want the public to understand that this is the kind of response that happens for everyone. This wasn't anything special for me. They had no idea that I was a fire commissioner. It was a very difficult transition. My husband was not willing to get on the ambulance. He was refusing transportation, and as you all know, that is a citizen's right to refuse to be transported, and it is absolutely the thing that he was resisting, given the incident that he had had. Those paramedics, firefighters, stayed at my house for over an hour, talking to my husband, empathizing with my husband, listening to my husband. Finally, these men, maybe he was resisting me because I was his wife, one never knows, were able to get him into the chair and wheel him out and get him into the ambulance and get him to Kaiser at West LA and offboard him for that kind of care. It was an extraordinary thing to see that we have members with the Los Angeles Fire Department that are so trained that they are able to interpret, they are able to manage, they're able to communicate with people in their worst times. This is the worst time of your life when you need to have yourself transported to the hospital. And these two gentlemen absolutely understood how to make my husband comfortable enough to get on that ambulance with them, Chief Crowley. It was amazing. So I want to give a shout out to the two of them, because that was something that, as his wife of 53 years, who was terrified herself, and I'm generally not scared of anything, but I was terrified myself, and they comforted me, and they got him on the ambulance and got him into the hospital. What a relief. Only after he was in the ambulance did I say to them, I love LA Fire Department. And firefighter Dunn said, well, do you love us or do you love the whole fire department? I said, I love the whole fire department. I'm going to tell you why. And I said, because I'm a fire commissioner. And they went, oh. I said, no worries. I only have praise. So that was that day. 4 days later, I had to come here to have my picture taken. And I called Chief Villanueva. I told him I was on my way from the hospital because the person was already here to take a picture. Sharon had already had her picture taken, and I didn't want to have to have somebody come back. So I rushed here from the hospital. I asked Chief Villanueva if he would just get me a salad, which he did. He got me a salad. I had my picture taken, and I went to sit down to have my salad. And I became completely unraveled. It was one of the worst days of my life. I became just completely unraveled, as you can imagine. Captain Eric Scott, I was in a cubicle with him, And he said to me, Commissioner, is there anything I can do for you? I said, no, just let me have my salad, let me have a minute to pull myself together, and you just go ahead with your day. And he was doing so. And then, of course, I completely unraveled. I cried. I just, was, what can I tell you? I was worried. He came over to me. He pulled a chair up next to me. He sat next to me, and he held my hand. Human contact is important when you have used up your last ounce of courage and energy and everything. He held my hand. He let me talk to him. He didn't try to talk to me. He didn't try to direct the conversation. He just let me talk to him. He held my hand and we talked. Chief Crowley, who clearly we know has more stuff to do in her day than she can handle, came out of her office. She sat in a chair. She did the same thing. They waited. They were there. They were present. And I mean present. And I was able to feel better, as of course you can imagine that I would. Chief Villanueva came over, see how I was doing. I was prepared to go home in my own vehicle, which of course you know was ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous because I'd have probably crashed into somebody. And between Chief Crowley and Chief Villanueva, they arranged to take me home and to bring my vehicle home to see me safely in my house and then go on with their day. So for the listening public and for the viewing public, I need for everybody in the city to understand the city of Los Angeles that, in my opinion, the Los Angeles Fire Department is the best, the finest, with the finest personnel in the nation. And I want to thank everyone who made that horrific experience for me palatable, and it allowed for me to get through that. So those are my comments this morning, and I really do mean that I want to make sure that those commendations get in their records. However that works with the fire department, those commendations should go in there. And thank you very much, all of you. Chief Villanueva, I see him there. The two paramedic firefighters are not here. Where is Eric? Is he here? He's working.
over there in the back.
Where is he? There he is. He's sitting at the side. This guy really pulled me through. So those are my comments. And we will now move forward with the report of the fire chief.
Well, thank you. I'd like to start with, thank you for sharing that story. And interesting enough, if we were to go out in the public and actually do inquiries, that's not an anomaly, which makes all of us truly, truly proud
Yes,
of
good deal.
the work and the character and the true compassion that our people demonstrate from the heart. You felt it. And so thank you for sharing that. And that is happens every single day out in the city of LA when we say our people really are here to serve. Our members are here to serve. So thank you for sharing that, ma'am.
And that's right, because remember, they didn't know that I was a fire commissioner. I was just a member
Even
of the
better,
public. I
right?
was a member of the public.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, ma'am.
You're welcome.
So that's an honor. Thank you. So I'll go ahead and just make some brief remarks, and these are my meetings and events from July 18th to August 1st. We did have the opportunity to already talk about the promotional ceremony. What an amazing opportunity to bring everybody together. I tell you, that's one of my most favorite things to do, not only to celebrate the hard work and dedication of our people, but honestly, it's seeing their families, their friends, their mentors, their parents, their grandparents come together and celebrate and actually come up on the stage to pin their badge. We've really tried to elevate our opportunities to highlight our people and memorialize it with our photos and the family. It's just a wonderful day. So yes, we did have the opportunity, and I did have the honor and privilege to promote 70 members, one of our larger ceremonies. And of course, as we continue to push forward and do the right thing when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are also ensuring that we're doing the right thing for all the right reasons and bringing along our professional civilian staff that are the heart and soul of our organization as well. So yes, we did have the opportunity to promote 9 of our civilian professional staff, and that's the main word, professional staff, that our civilian workforce comes to work each and every day. We also, one other piece that we did get to celebrate are our medics, our firefighters that did go to paramedic school. That's somewhat of a newer addition since this new administration, is to ensure that as we elevate EMS, we're celebrating when our members go above and beyond and volunteer, put their hands up, and put in the hard work and effort when it comes to becoming a paramedic within our organization. So there's 5 paramedics that we were celebrating, 3 helicopter pilot 1s, 5 helicopter 3s, 13 captain 1s, 19 captain 2s, 14 battalion chiefs, and 2 deputy chiefs. So you're spot on, Commissioner, where you said, wow, that's a large amount of people, but I tell you, we're going to celebrate that and continue to push forward and promote and fill the seats with qualified individuals. But just as important is the training aspect, so we're working hard to ensure that we continue to provide training to our members so that when they're in the seat and even prior to, that they're ready to be elevated and lead and manage this organization. So that's always fun. On that same day, I also was invited to represent the LAFD at the Women's Management Academy. This is a special program that city personnel puts on to engage with women in leadership positions. So I had the opportunity to just speak about some lessons learned, about an hour with that cohort, and they're doing very, very well. On July 25th, this was an incredible opportunity to get out there and spread the word. This is where we actually had a press conference with KIDA. We were hand in hand with LA County, Anthony Maroney's fire chief. We had My Safe LA there, as well as ABC 7, who does an incredible job of telling our stories, and also representatives from Home Depot. And this had to do with Operation Save a Life. They have donated thousands of our smoke detectors as well as carbon monoxide detectors within certain areas within the city. We're going to continue to push hard and partner with other agencies out there to make sure that areas within the city are protected across the entire city. So that was a wonderful time that we got to spread the word, and thanks to ABC 7 again for putting that story together to make sure the community is well versed and understands how to actually reach out and request these life-saving types of smoke alarms, and as well as our carbon monoxide detector. So that was wonderful as well. July 26th, again, an honor to represent the LAFD. We, I would say every day, but more often than I like to think about, notified that a family member of one of our retired or active members passed away. This was an opportunity where I represented the LAFD. This was a retired member. Roy Rodriguez had unexpectedly lost his 33-year-old daughter who passed away, but was there and was honored to represent the LAFD. A lot of retired members there and active members were there to also support the Rodriguez family. On that same day, I met with the LAFD Foundation, their board of directors. I tell you, the LAFD Foundation does amazing work. An interesting number I wanted to share was over the past 5 years, they've raised and donated over $19 million to the LAFD. So just a wonderful time to get together and really communicate what our LAFD strategies are to continue to push and supplement where our budget is not able to support us. And the foundation does an amazing job. July 27th, actually got to complete that circle where I came back and got to celebrate. This is a Women's Management Academy graduation. Again, represented the LAFD there. July 27th that night, too, a wonderful opportunity at the Getty Center, where the Getty Museum, where they opened their doors to our first responders, and they had an emergency appreciation event, and that was a wonderful time to come together from first responders within the local area, and it's a wonderful appreciation event, which was well attended as well. On July 28th, it was an honor. We pulled together, usually on a biannual basis, to come together with our all chiefs as well as our executive staff. We did that off-site. We had about 3.5 hours where we come together, we collaborate with our chief officers and the Chief Officers Association, and talk about priorities and strategies moving forward. So we had close to 100 of our chief officers, which was the majority of our chief officers and executive staff attend. And lastly, Just yesterday, on July 31st, I was a guest speaker at our Camp Ready LA Emergency. It was a camp that the emergency medical puts together, or I should say the Emergency Management Division puts together, department puts together. And it's just an opportunity to plant that seed early with 15-year-olds to 21-year-olds within the local area. I was just a guest speaker, talked about becoming a firefighter and a first responder and really paying attention to those opportunities that are before them. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. We will now move on to, Ms. Gomez, are there any presentations?
Yes. Presentation?
Presentations.
Oh, we skipped
Madam
it.
Chair.
So number 2, report of the.
No, wait,
We're
wait,
going to
wait,
go to the
wait.
verbal
I'm sorry.
reports.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't do B and C. Verbal reports, B, verbal reports, C. Sorry,
So we'll do the B, so the verbal
let's do
report.
B. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Madam President, Vice President DeLucich, Chief Crowley, rest of the Commission Board, and guests. My name is Richard Fields. I'm Deputy Chief assigned to Operations West Bureau, and I'll be reporting on a significant incident that happened actually just yesterday in our Bureau. On July 31st, 2023, just before 6:30 a.m., LAFD Resources responded to the report of a structure fire in a 2-story duplex with heavy fire showing. This was in the 1200 block of North Lyman Place, located in Fire Station 35's first in Council District 13. First arriving resources were on scene in just under 3 minutes and reported heavy smoke and fire coming from the second floor of this 2-story duplex apartment. Due to additional factors, the fire spread in this apartment rapidly. Resources deployed in the offensive mode and employed an aggressive fire attack with coordinated vertical ventilation to extinguish the flames. It took 32 firefighters under the direction of Battalion Chief Brett Willis in Battalion 5, as well as Assistant Chief Dean Zipperman, sitting here in the audience, 17 minutes to access, confine, and extinguish the flames on the first floor of the 2-story apartment, or 2-story duplex. Additional companies assisted with exposure protection, search, and salvage operations. Now, what made this incident significant, other than the fine work that our men and women do every day, is that after extinguishing the flames, firefighters performed a secondary, more thorough search of the occupancy and found one patient inside, on the floor, pulseless and non-breathing. However, firefighters and paramedics took quick action to administer advanced life support and medical treatment. The patient was transported to the appropriate receiving facility, and because of the skill of our members, a return of spontaneous circulation was achieved by the time they arrived at the hospital. During the firefight, one firefighter who was responsible for the initial attack on the fire, again, encountering heavy fire conditions, sustained a non-life-threatening burn, but it has been released from the hospital and is doing well. Per protocol, LAFD arson investigators were attached and responded to conduct a fire cause investigation. And that's the end of my report, if there are any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? At some point in time, not in this meeting because it's not been agendized, but I really would like for the public to understand what the fire inspectors do. I don't think that people understand the arson unit with the fire department, who actually go out and do the initial investigating to make sure that the fire was either natural or whether or not there's some suspicion that it really was arson. And I don't think people really understand that, Chief Crowley, that we have a dedicated, trained unit that goes out and does the initial inspection. So at some point in time, let's get that on, just as general information for the public so they understand why. Thank you, Chief Fields.
Thank you.
And now we'll move forward with the verbal report by Department relative to medical emergencies.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Fire Chief Crowley, staff, and guests. My name is Tyler Dixon. I'm an Assistant Chief assigned to the EMS Bureau. And Madam President, I'll be reporting on a verbal report on medical emergencies for the period of July 18th to July 31st and have a couple of incidents to highlight the fine work that our firefighter, paramedics, EMTs, advanced practitioners, rated members, and officers do day in and day out.
Thank you.
On the 20th of July, Los Angeles Fire Department units responded to a 911 call for a adult male suffering from chest pain in the Los Angeles metropolitan area. The initial dispatch included an advanced provider unit, an engine company, and a rescue ambulance. Quickly, a fast response vehicle, which was out on patrol in the area, determined that they were closer than all of those units, radioed the dispatch center, added themselves, and canceled the engine, making the engine available for the next emergency, potentially a fire suppression issue or medical problem. The fast response vehicle, followed by the advanced practitioner unit, arrived on scene within minutes and performed an initial assessment, and then the advanced provider took over and performed an advanced assessment. Of note, chest pain dispatch is one of our highest categories of emergency medical dispatches, routinely receiving at least an engine company or a rescue ambulance totaling 6 members. With these light vehicles, including the fast response vehicle, we were able to pare that down and quickly determine that this was not a life-threatening emergency. This is not a normal skill or ability for an EMT or a paramedic to rule out chest pain from being of cardiac origin or a life-threatening emergency. The routine procedure would involve an initial assessment, potentially some stabilization using some medications, communications with the hospital, and then transport to a hospital, causing an ambulance to be out of service for, as the Vice President experienced, potentially hours, depending on the ability of the hospital to receive the patient in a timely manner. The advanced practitioner, in this case, which was a nurse practitioner, could also be a physician assistant, was able to perform an assessment above and beyond the scope of a paramedic and determine that this, while a chest pain complaint did indeed exist, this was not cardiac in nature, and was able to provide the patient instructions and care on scene, and ultimately provided a taxi cab voucher for the patient to follow up in a non-emergency setting at a clinic or an emergency room. All units were released in a short period of time to respond to the next emergency. While this incident is not necessarily dramatic, it highlights some of the programs that the LAFD is initiating to offset the large demand of emergency medical services that the residents and visitors of Los Angeles have called upon the fire department to do, and balancing appropriate use of our resources. On the 22nd of July, companies in the, again in the downtown metropolitan area, responded to a call for a cardiac arrest or a person down on the sidewalk. Within minutes, the engine company arrived on scene, did indeed find an adult male on the sidewalk on a busy street in cardiac arrest. Care was immediately provided, an automatic external defibrillator was applied, and CPR was initiated. Several minutes after that, an advanced life support paramedic rescue ambulance arrived on scene and provided advanced cardiac life support. The same medical algorithms that would be applied in an emergency department by a physician and highly skilled staff were brought to this busy sidewalk in the downtown Los Angeles metropolitan area within minutes. In fact, firefighter paramedics encountered that there was a difficult intravenous access, which is the normal procedure to establish an IV and provide cardiac medication. Utilizing an advanced tool, intraosseous drill, and an intraosseous hollow bore needle, they were able to establish vascular access in the bone of the patient, providing those cardiac medications, and establishing a return of spontaneous circulation in less than 10 minutes from the time of initial alarm. Paramedics then transported, with the aid of the engine company, the patient to a local emergency department, providing additional medications, sustaining pulses all the way to transfer of care, ultimately leading to definitive care at a local emergency room. These are just two examples of the thousands of patients in this reporting period that your EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, advanced practitioners, and officers have responded to and provided excellent care over the last 2 weeks. Happy to answer any questions, ma'am.
Commissioners, does anybody have any questions? I just have one comment. You said that these events were not necessarily dramatic. I would like to disagree with you on that point. The public doesn't understand yet, and we need to continue to educate them about the kind of training, the specialized training that comes with the Los Angeles Fire Department, all of the people that have more training than people know, all of the things that people don't understand because the fire department answers so many medical calls. So I do believe that it is a dramatic example of what we've come to expect in the city of Los Angeles and what you continue to provide in the city of Los Angeles for every citizen, resident, in every circumstance. So thank you for the report, but I firmly on the record disagree that it's not dramatic. It's dramatic. It just happens every day and you're accustomed to it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well said. Agreed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to item 3, which is presentations, and I believe we have some, and
Good morning, Madam President,
good morning.
Commissioners, Fire Chief Crowley, City Attorney, LAFD Administration, and distinguished guests. I'm Eric Scott, Captain 2 Paramedic, serving as the Department's Public Information Officer. And today we get to discuss an incident in which a man was about to commit suicide. However, we had some swift and decisive actions of 2 of our members from Fire Station 52 that directly resulted in saving that man's life. So we'd like to start to please ask Engineer Andrew Kelly and Firefighter Nathan Vonderhart to please stand next to the podium. There's 2 captains here that will stand with them in support. Now, this incident took place on September 27th in 2021 when Engine 52 was responding and dispatched to a Hollywood freeway at the Sunset Boulevard overpass. Now, while they're en route to that location, they quickly determined that, in fact, there was no patient at Sunset Boulevard. So they shut down their sirens and they start to travel along Western Avenue. As it crossed over the Hollywood freeway, they noticed a man that was walking dangerously close alongside the freeway overpass. Now, it's not common for them to respond to jumper incidents in that area over the 101 freeway. And tragically, just 3 hours earlier, on the same day, at the same location, another person actually jumped to his death. So unfortunately, at that incident, Engine 52 was already assigned to another emergency call, but not this time. So naturally, our members, they had a heightened sense of urgency and resolve to do everything within their power to not let this person in peril have the same demise. So they wisely decided to keep the emergency lights on, but the sirens off, so as to not provoke that individual to jump. They quickly made a safe U-turn. They positioned themselves alongside that member, and at this point, that man had climbed over a 4-foot protective barrier. He was reaching behind the railing, leaning far over, looking far down at the busy freeway as he prepared himself to jump. The engine stealthily pulled up, and the second they hit the maxi brakes, both Engineer Kelly and Firefighter Vonderhart jumped off, ran up, put themselves in danger, reached over the railing just before he jumped. They both grabbed the torso and arm of the individual, picked him up, brought him back over the railing safely to the ground. They then made sure not to allow that individual get loose to try to commit suicide again. Fortunately, LAPD, they quickly arrived. They placed that patient, rightfully so, on a 72-hour mental health hold, as he definitely was a danger to himself. And then our members performed a medical assessment, quickly treated and transported that individual to a local hospital. So without a doubt, these 2 members demonstrated decisiveness, courage, strength, compassion, and humanity to a person in turmoil during a stressful and dangerous situation. And because of their actions, this distraught person survived. They received the medical attention that they needed and got a second chance at life. So at this point, we'd like to please read one of the certificates, and it's a certificate of appreciation. In recognition of your bravery and heroic courage while working on Engine 52, your actions resulted in saving the life of a man during a jumper incident above the 101 freeway in Hollywood at the Western Avenue overpass on September 27, 2021. The Los Angeles City Fire Department commends you for your bravery and exceptional efforts in saving a citizen of the City of Los Angeles, presented on the first day of August 2023, Kristen M. Crowley, Fire Chief. Let's give them a rightful round of applause.
I'll do the comments from here first, and then we'll get a photo. But as you can see, we talked about all the details here. Again, an incredible example of our people going above and beyond. And I tell you, if we were to sit down with each of the members here, I'm sure they would say we're just doing our job. Honestly, they're smiling because they know it's true. And I'm sure that there was zero hesitancy in regard to doing what they had to do in an individual's time of crisis. So this is one of the many, many, many examples, and just one that we even found out about, let alone what our people do day in and day out. So on behalf of the LAFD, we're very proud of you two. Thank you for stepping up and doing your jobs, going above and beyond and putting others before yourself and your own safety. So thank you for representing the LAFD in the highest manner, and we congratulate you, and we're just so happy that we could commend you in a public forum. So thanks for representing the LAFD. Thank you.
You're going to go down and take pictures.
Let them take one first with just them.
Come out of the picture.
And then we'll go.
Come out of the picture.
I'm coming, oh.
Yes.
All right, commissioners, if you can, come on in.
Yes, ma'am. We'll have the members in the back, commissioners in front. We'll kind of stagger heads there. Squeeze in. Pretend you. Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you all.
All right, you got dinner.
I got him. He wants to talk on 4 and 5A. So does he get 3 minutes for each? Or he gets one in one? I'm just gonna tell him that listen, he gets to have 3 minutes.
That's when you have like all items, but for 2 items you get another item. If you'd like, I mean, that's
So he can have 3 minutes for 2 items.
okay.
Right? Minute and a half per item. Is that what you're saying?
It's
to me?
1 per.
1 minute per item?
Correct.
So he's got 2 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're the timekeeper?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you let him know? Okay. All right. Thank you. Once again, that's our fire department in action. That brings us to the public comment period. I have only one public comment card at the moment. It's Richard Ramirez. And I believe you're speaking on 4 and 5A. Mr. Ramirez, is that correct?
Yes, yes, ma'am, on 4, public comment, and 5A is an apple, yes. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Board of Fire Commission, City Attorney, Chief, hello, everybody. I'm here to just talk about a few things. Obviously, I want to start off talking about the 5A on the agenda, which is the therapeutic van. I'm here to represent about 3,300 members, my brothers and sisters, UFLAC, Local 112, LAFD. My name's Richard Ramirez, 18 years, firefighter paramedic, just recently assigned to Fire Station 11. That's Battalion 11 also. I'm here to just make a few comments on how being out in the field, how it is not working to our advantage. The reasons they're not working is it's lack of staffing, not available. I worked over a Memorial Weekend on FRV 9, which is a pretty high incident weekend. People are off. Veterans are out there on the streets feeling bad, down and out. Called for them multiple times. None of them were available. So just a quick incident and of how that therapeutic van is just really not working to our advantage. I think they're averaging, maybe one call, one transport a day, if that, and they're not utilized, I believe, like they were designed to. Most recently, yesterday, or I believe the day before, LA Times released from LA County, they're giving back $15 million due to their staffing that they have for their comparable therapeutic van. And if that shows anything, I mean, I know we contribute not that much, but we do contribute something to it, and I think it could be used in other ways, definitely. I don't want to come up here and just give you complaints, and but I do want to give some recommendations, possibly what is working, and to verify. May I continue? That was 2 minutes.
Are you keeping time?
It was 2 minutes.
Okay. 2 minutes.
Finish your comments.
May I finish? Thank you. What is working is the APRUs and FRVs. The APRUs are providing and helping out the surrounding stations, the community, and giving workload relief with our members. Like Fire Commissioner DeLukic was saying that there was plenty of members sitting at the hospital holding up a wall. As they're there, at least these members on those resources can help out the public and give some workload relief to the members out there. Once again, thank you, and I want to invite any one of you to come out. Let us know. Collaboration with UFLAC. I'll be happily to join you to meet the members out there and seeing the difference that they're making. Thank you.
Thank you. So that moves us to item 5, which are the consent agendas. Does anybody want to remove any of these, the consent items? Discussion?
Yeah, item 5A.
Okay. Anybody else? I want to hold 5A, 5B, and 5C. I have questions on all of those.
Okay.
So since 5D is the one that's the report for the renewal of My Safe LA, let's just hold it, and after we have the discussion, we'll just move them all at the same time. Is that okay? All right, so let's start with 5A. Corinne?
Yes, yeah, so I just wanted to, especially for our newer commissioners here, since they hadn't had a chance to probably hear about the therapeutic van service, I didn't know that UFLAC was going to comment as well today, but just in reading that particular item, there was a few lines that I wanted to bring to the attention that read, therapeutic van's narrow focus of services combined with the therapeutic van staff's inability to conduct a medical assessment or provide emergency medical services is a limiting factor when responding to a 911 call for service. So I guess just on this, and maybe it may be something that needs to be further agendized for the future, but for now, I would like to better understand what is the future of this program. I mean, remind me on the funding side, if it's not working, I think it's probably something that, the mayor's office should be made aware of. But at the same time, if the narrow focus alone, and if it's resources that are not deployed appropriately, how can we better utilize?
Okay. So we make sure that we get that recorded so that we can get an answer for that.
Absolutely.
My question is, page 5 of the report, where it says that the ability of the LAFD to house the DMH therapeutic vans at fire stations is proven to be a significant logistical challenge. And then it goes on to say that when we talk about the limited facility space within existing fire stations and the fact that the temporary trailers have been repurposed from the city's COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, I'm sorry, I forget that thing. Shall I start all over? Did everybody hear that? No, you didn't. All right, I'm starting all over. I'm on page 4 and 5, excuse me. So my concern is the ability of LAFD to house the therapeutic vans. And I'm also really concerned about the fact that what I'm reading is that the temporary trailers that have been repurposed from the COVID-19 pandemic, it says that unfortunately, these trailers are now well past their usable service life and will not be sustainable to house the DMH therapeutic van staffs beyond the pilot phase. So we are now in phase 2 of a pilot program. It appears to me that this is not going to work. At this point, that's what I believe to be true. I am not ever in favor of pilot programs. So let me just make sure that people understand my bias. Pilot programs happen to be, they get up, they get funded, they're okay for the term of the pilot, and then we never hear anything else about them. We never hear whether they've done well or they've met their purpose or whatever. We have limited resources in LAFD, and those resources need to be spread in a way that we are making sure that we are meeting our main mandate, as opposed to, everybody has a favorite pilot program. Everybody has a pet pilot program. I don't always find that they are necessary or meaningful, and this worries me, that we don't even have sustainable vehicles to continue. And I heard Mr. Ramirez say that potentially this is a problem for our members. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to have some conversation, and I'd like to get some more information about this particular program. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at where the stations are clustered. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 stations, 5 stations actually. I think we just need to rethink this, and I think we need to talk about this further. Commissioner DeLucia?
Well, I agree with my fellow commissioners. There are a lot of, well, this is an excellent report, first of all. I mean, it highlights all over where other folks do too. My concern is how the fire department could have this kind of a report, and yet the city council just voted to re-up the program for another year. And there seems like to be like some sort of disconnect. I mean, $1 million, while it's not a ton of money, it could send 78 people to paramedic school, for instance. I don't know how much the APRUs cost, but it seems like the money would be much better spent. I think that, we should have a conversation with the mayor's office, who should have a conversation with city council, and start the conversations about how to repurpose the funding for this program. We gave it a shot. It wasn't horrible, but didn't really, didn't help as much as maybe we hoped. So I think we need to make sure there's more, communication and conversation. So I agree with my fellow commissioners.
Madam President?
Commissioner Woods Gray?
Yes, I agree with the comments that have been made previously. I think that because many of the pilot programs came in under the other leadership, we have new leadership, and my recommendation is that we need to evaluate all of these pilot programs and have a report to the commission on what all pilot programs are doing and what they're not doing, because if they make only one run, as the firefighter has suggested, that's a waste. We know that. So we really need to look at the pilot programs.
All right. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay, then let's move on to B. This is the report by the department on the Second Amendment to Agreement with Pulse Point Foundation for Software as a Service application. I just have one question, and I may be the dumbest person in the world. Can somebody tell me what is meant by subscribers? I understand all of this from working with when I was with the County Board of Supervisors, but I don't remember what subscribers means.
Good morning, Sam Hinojosa from ITB. For a subscriber, so it's a downloadable application, and that's really the subscribers that are opting into that service. From there, they can monitor the activity on the application.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, Sam, if you could just give a little background on how we utilize it versus not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to give you some clarity.
Okay.
So the data is, it comes in from the CAD group. It's shared with the Pulse Point Foundation application. From there, it gives about a 4-minute time frame between the time that LAFD is able to respond to an emergency event to any of the subscribers to view the actual cardiac event in their areas. From there, it'll also give them the opportunity to know where the closest AED is, whether they have the opportunity to provide some life-saving support in the interim between the event and the arrival of LAFD EMS.
Okay, thank you. I got all of that. I just wanted to make sure that I understood subscribers are just people who are willing to have this application and to help
Correct.
if they happen to be at an event where a person is in trouble.
In close proximity, yes.
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good. Thank you.
Madam President?
I'm sorry.
Is this
Commissioner
the Pulse Point that I have, the little red application with the heart on my phone? Okay. No worries. Yeah, I'm a subscriber.
I got it. I see what that means.
It's interesting to follow. I do get it occasionally.
Okay. And then number C is the report by the department on the status of LAFD projects. So here's my question. I see on this report a lot of Fire Commission reports that were asked for. I see some of them that have been answered, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 where it says to be determined. So am I to assume that the commission hasn't yet gotten those reports?
That's my understanding, or it hasn't been agendized.
Okay. And also 7, there's 7 of them, and some of them go back to 2020. Yeah, some of them are due way back from 2020 to 2020. So can we just get an idea of what or when we might be able to get them? And because there are a lot of them, we can talk in the agenda meeting about when we do that, but I want to get this backlog cleared up. That's my only comment. Any other comments, commissioners? I just want the backlog cleared up, because moving forward, we're going to have more, and then we really fall behind. So those are my questions. Commissioners, are there any other questions? Nobody had a question about D. So at this point, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have a motion to accept all of the items on the consent calendar.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right. Got that. that taken care of. We are now moving down to item 6, which is regular agenda items. 6A is the report by the independent assessor on the review of LAFD's response to his 2021 annual review of the handling of complaints of misconduct. And I think Tyler is here.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, Commissioners, Chief, guests.
Before you start,
Yes, ma'am.
welcome back.
Thank you.
And I hope
Glad to be
you're
back.
feeling better.
Just a little slow when I get up, but
Okay.
I can make it across the room.
All
It's
right.
getting better every day.
Okay.
In September of 2022, my predecessor, Sue Stengel, presented the independent assessor's 2021 annual review of LAFD's handling of complaints of misconduct. Excuse me. At that time, she concluded the number of cases awaiting a Board of Rights had reached crisis levels, and specifically noted that more than 72 cases were awaiting a hearing before a Board of Rights. In addition to those 70 cases, neither the Department nor the OIA were readily able to determine if another 40 cases were pending a Board of Rights because the Department's disciplinary tracking system was not updated. On April 12th of 2023, in response to that annual review, the Department reported, among many other accomplishments, that the number of pending Board of Rights had been reduced from 83 to 55. Noting the discrepancies between the numbers referenced in the independent assessor's original report and the Department's response, I was asked to reconcile any differences and report back to this commission. PSD provided me with their list of cases awaiting a Board of Rights, which I compared to the list compared by my predecessor and to the Department's discipline tracking system. Comparing the different lists, which started and stopped on different dates, was labor-intensive and inconsistent with proper auditing techniques. For that reason, my only conclusion is that the Department must update and maintain the discipline tracking system in order to conduct comprehensive and accurate reviews of cases. I'd also like to mention that on page 2 of my report, in an effort to point out the challenges of comparing lists with different dates and not having access to the discipline tracking system, I referenced 2 cases that were on the independent assessor's list, but not on the Department's list. While I noted that I didn't have the full information at the time my report was written, my intent was to demonstrate the problem with not updating the discipline tracking system. I want to apologize if I inadvertently cast aspersions on Professional Standards Division or any individuals assigned to PSD. PSD, to the member, has been nothing but cooperative in all my dealings with them. Again, my only point was that the historical data should be available to department managers and this office in electronic form at any time. And I'm available to answer any questions.
I have questions, but commissioners, do other commissioners have questions? Oh, it's just me.
I have questions, but I can wait.
No?
No, you go.
Okay, all right, we're not going to do that. Thank you very much for the report. On page 2, you say that one of the challenges is for each of the lists, the spreadsheets in the tracking system include different and overlapping information. In addition, they begin and end on different dates. You just said that to us. I want to know how this is being resolved. And we don't have to talk about it at depth because we're going to, as soon as the full commission is in place, you know, I think we're all in place now, but we're going to have a whole briefing on this. But that is one of the questions that I would like to have answered. And then the second paragraph that I'm concerned about, it says that the discipline tracking system contains or should contain all of the cases and related data. And it was not properly updated to include all data related to each case, open or closed status. And I want to know why that's so as well. I want to understand that. And then the final paragraph on page 2 begins with, when asked about 2 cases, or I asked about 2 cases, and the response was that they had no record of pending Board of Rights prior to 2015, and they were going to look into them. So my question is, has the department looked into them and found an answer for that? And if you have not, I want to know why you haven't done that. I want to make sure that we get that taken care of. And in the conclusions, it's on page 3, the discipline tracking system should afford the department managers and reviewers the ability to track all aspects of disciplinary cases in addition to maintaining historical and present Board of Rights information. All disciplinary cases information should be available as the current system allows. I don't know what you mean by as the current system allows.
So in short,
Explain that to us now, or do you want to do that when you do the whole thing?
happy to explain it now. The department and ITB are already working on improving and modifying both the complaint tracking system and the discipline tracking system. My contention here is while DTS may have some limitations, whatever's available to put into it now and however it uses, we should be using it until we have a new system.
In place?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, but
ahead.
your question number 3, the issue of those 2 cases from 2015 that the department didn't have information on,
Yes.
they did get back to me on that. And on those 2 cases, again, the discussion I think really is that DTS has all this historical data, should have it all maintained backward to the beginning, and I don't think we want to be in different spreadsheets for different periods of time and end up in a situation like this. And that was my point there.
Okay.
But PSD was prompt in getting back to me.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
I have a couple of questions and comments. Is there a statute of limitations on Board of Rights? I mean, some of these are over 10 years old. Does anybody know?
So yes, I'll answer that. Once we get to a Board of Rights is the statute of limitations on the complaint process really is satisfied when the department gets the investigation and the adjudication to the Fire Commission. And then that starts the rest of the process, right? They either accept their days, or they're sent to a Board of Rights, or they opt for a Board of Rights. Then there is no statute of limitations after that. So that could go on for years. There are we've addressed other issues in the past on shortening that time period because, again, justice delayed is justice denied in some courts. But just like the court system, a court case could go on for years and years and years and years, even though the statute of limitations might be 3 years for robbery, but if you get the case to the judge within 3 years, you're good, and then the court case could go on for years and years and years for various reasons.
Okay.
And that's how the Board of Rights, that's what's happening here.
Okay. And, you know, I don't need to beat a dead horse. You've said that we need a new system, and it reminds me of how I used to do my taxes. I'd have receipts in a shoebox. I mean, I feel like there should be alarm bells. Like, we need help. We need this software. We need this contractor. You say the early stages. My understanding has been more than 2 years we've been looking for somebody to build or adapt this system. I just feel like it can't wait. And what does the department need to be able to do this? This is unacceptable. And you say it would take at least a year, maybe several years. No! I mean, what do we do how do we raise the alarm that we need this to happen and happen now? What do you need, Chief?
That's a loaded question, but I will answer that. The good news is we're focusing on path forward. So you talk about our board's due process. It's all important. It's important to the members. It's important to the complainant. It's important to all of us. So we've made tremendous amount of progress. We're working very closely with the independent assessor as well as UFLAC and the COA to make sure that we're addressing the board. So we're making really good progress. Now, we do have support in the budget to move forward with DTS and CTS. we're working very, very closely with Sam and his staff in ITB. We have a lot of support over there. We're making good progress. So, path forward. I would like to report back from the department side, if you would like us to, and direct us to, and create timelines that we are specifically held accountable for, to create the momentum that we need on the disciplinary side and due process side. So PSD is working very, very hard. We've got the connectivity with, no pun intended, with ITB, and we'll go ahead and move forward and report back to you on what our timelines are and be held to that standard.
So we're going to talk about how we can agendize this in the context of an entire report on what it is that we need to do about complaint tracking. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to make one comment. It is never the intention of this fire commission nor management to ever be in a hostile relationship with any other part of the department. So this is not a knock on anybody, as Tyler has said. This is about governance. This is about all working together so that our members understand what's going on and they are supported, so that management understands what's going on and they get the support that they need, and so that the commission, which has the responsibility of governance, understands what's going on, will be able to ask these questions with full transparency to the listening public and anybody that chooses to get a report of what's going on. So there is never any hostile intention. We are never, ever going to be in the business of having any one department within the fire department to be battling against another one. That's something that under my leadership the last time and under my leadership this time, that is not going to happen. It's not going to happen with labor. It's not going to happen with management, because I know that you're here in the audience and you come and you bring things to us. There is not going to be any hostility. There is going to be collaboration. There is going to be building of coalitions, and there will be transparency in what is reported out. We know at this point that we need to do something about this system, and we're going to take care of that, but we're going to take care of it in the light of day, and the people that need to be in the room will be in the room as the new system is being built. I think that Ms. DeLuccia is correct. We need to have timelines. We need to understand when this moves forward, and she screamed for me, so I don't have to scream for myself. But this is one of the most urgent things that we need to be about the business of correcting. But I just want everybody to understand there's no hostility that's going to go on here, and there's no separation of anything that's going to go on here. And so we're here to support the chief, the executive team. We're here to support UFLAC and the concerns that UFLAC has, because that's an important aspect. And everybody has to understand that we are here to support the commission's right to be able to govern and make comments as well. So that's my final comment. If there are other comments that need to be made, commissioners, I'm open to that before we move into adjournment. We're finished.
One more item.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I forgot about the budget, the money, the most important part. So we have the report by the department on the adopted budget for the fiscal year of 2023-24.
Madam President.
I'm sorry, Madam President, there needs to be a motion regarding the recommendation.
Oh,
I move to approve the recommendation item. Sorry, I move to approve the recommendation in item 6A.
oh, that's
In the
right, there is a
IA's report.
recommendation.
Second.
It's been seconded to approve the recommendation. I forgot, wait. That brings me to my last question. I have it, no, I have it in green. Okay, I'm fine. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All approve? All vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, recommendation passes. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to 6B, which is the report on the budget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sandra Ocon. I'm the Chief Management Analyst for the Financial Services Division, Administrative Services Bureau. I'm presenting the information on the adopted budget for fiscal year 23-24. On December 6, 2022, the Board of Fire Commissioners approved the LAFD's proposed budget for fiscal year 23-24. Requests for funding for the most critical department needs were included in the proposed budget. A total of $838 million was requested for the department's operating budget, and $66 million was requested in non-departmental requests, including MICLA for fleet replacement and facilities maintenance. The proposed budget was submitted to the Mayor's Office and City Administrative Officer's Office for further review and analysis of the proposed budget requests. And there were a lot of questions and discussions subsequent to the submission of the proposed budget. The mayor released her proposed budget on April 20th, 2023, and then it was scheduled for further discussion before the Budget, Finance, and Innovation Committee. Again, there were additional questions from the department, and ultimately, the budget was adopted by council on May 18, 2023. As reported in the board report, the final adopted budget for the fire department totals $837 million for our operating budget, and $48 million for non-departmental items, including $30 million for MICLA, MICLA's fleet replacement, and capital, technology, and improvement expenditures as well. The total fire department's budget for this fiscal year is $886 million, for an increase of 7% from last year's operating budget. Regular position authorities grew by 33 positions, bringing the total of sworn and civilian positions to 3,935. However, there are also 35 resolution authorities not included in that total. There is a full list of the budget changes included in the board report, but at this time, I'll stop to see if there are any questions.
Commissioners, are there questions? First of all, I want to thank you very much, because this budget is, your report was excellent, and it was easy for me to read and get myself up to, get myself up to speed. I do have some questions, but I would like to be able to pose them and then have them agendized, because the budget is final, so there's really nothing we can do about this budget. But I do have some questions, but I don't believe, I believe I'd like to have conversation with you, conversation with the chief, conversation with some other people, so that I can fully understand what was budgeted and what we need to be looking at going forward. So I don't want to do it at this meeting, but Ms. DeLucis does.
Well, I do have a couple questions, specific questions, and thank you for your report. I also found it very readable. Is there any, I know this budget is done, but is there any possibility of doing any mid-year changes? I'm thinking, given the standards of cover recommendations, does that present any opportunity to either get more money or shift money?
Well, shifting money, I would leave that up to the fire chief in terms of what the priorities are for the department. There are opportunities to submit what's called an interim budget request. And, you know, again, once that's determined, if needed, then that can move forward.
That's good news. And did you want to speak? I had one other just question about the budget. So on attachment B, page 2 of 7 at the bottom, the paramedic training program, does that 600,000, 413, 614, whatever, you know, that amount of money, does that include the cost of hiring behind the people who are in paramedic school? I understand that when they're being trained, someone has to take their place. Does that include the hiring behind them?
I'm sorry, which page was
I'm sorry, it's
that?
the last one on page 2 of 7 is the paramedic training program.
It does include constant staffing overtime, so
It
that's
does,
for
okay.
backfilling.
And I would just wonder, I just would ask if that is enough money. And also if there might, well, I have a discussion issue which I can bring up later. So I think that's good. And then I also, one last thing, and this is for a future meeting, but have we gotten a report on the work of the Equity Inclusion Staffing Expansion Group? That's just something I'd like to see in the future.
Madam President, I think that's on that list of all those things to be done.
Oh, one of those things on the track.
Right, the one on the tracking list.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one of those should be,
To be determined.
right,
Thank you. In that case, I just have questions about the
it should be there.
interim budget and the funding, more funding.
And if
for
I could
paramedics.
just give you a little bit more detail on your specific question about the paramedic school. So this is actually the first time that we've ever had our paramedic training budgeted. We normally would have to pull out of our training fund. So this is a step forward for us, but that's still for 45 positions. You ask, is that enough as we strategize and move forward with starting to implement what we need to do on our EMS resource deployment plan that would be in parallel with the standards of cover. That's just for this fiscal year, let alone what are our strategies moving forward. So this is actually the first time that we've had a budgeted line item for our paramedic training, which is a good thing for us. It brings stability. We don't have to, it'll bring stability in regard to our funding resource. And now we can utilize that money that we would otherwise have to pay for our paramedics, our firefighters to go to paramedic school, we can utilize for other training, which is a big win for us.
Madam President?
Commissioner Woods-Gray?
Yes, I had a few questions. One is equity and inclusion staffing. As I recall, I thought we were calling it diversity, equity, and inclusion.
That is correct. So we started to build out our diversity, equity, inclusion staffing within a 2-year approach. Last year, we were budgeted for a certain amount of staffing, and then this current budget, we expanded, and now we have our staffing requests that have been funded. Now, it's a 9-month funding stream versus a 6-month funding stream. So by the end of this year, this fiscal year, we will have our complete staffing for our DEI staffing.
Okay, I just don't want them to leave the word diversity off. I see it several times in the report, and
Right.
diversity is important to me and to the department. Also, what is affordable housing project? I don't.
Right, so that's a specific area within the Fire Prevention Bureau where we requested additional staffing, and that way, once we supplement our staffing in that arena, we can expedite our plan check as well as our inspections because of the increased amount of workload. So we were supported this year for the affordable housing.
And in the budget, thank you, Chief. And in the budget with the turnout gear, will this now allow every firefighter to have 2 sets so that?
Right, so that is our game plan, is to ensure that every firefighter in the field does have a second set of turnouts. So this additional funding will get us there.
Okay, very good. That's important because of we all know why it's important. Under the fleet replacement, is arson included in that?
Under MICLA, I would have to look at the breakdown of the vehicles that we're going to be purchasing this year. The good news with where our actual funding with the 30 million, they originally had cut it to 18. We came back to the table, and we're fully funded in regard to our fleet replacement. So we can double check and ensure that our arson was included in this next budget in regard to replacing their light vehicles.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure, we'd have to look at the master list, but we can report back on that.
Okay, because I know there's a dire need over there.
Right.
The other question is is it Reg 3, or that volunteer firefighting group?
Yes.
Did it get passed in the budget this year?
It
So that we
did.
could
That was-
actually begin to offer money to them for the services they do?
Yes, ma'am. So we were funded for our initial, which I'm very happy about, for our Crew 3, which is what
Crew
you're talking
3,
about. But it's now, we're going to be moving forward with that implementation where we'll be able to pay one full crew. And then our goal is to add to that this next fiscal year, so we'll have 2 full paid hand crews.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But it was funded for
For
one,
the
so
new
it's a stepping
commissioners,
stone.
we have these people who do the work of firefighters, but they were not getting paid, and they do, I mean, the work they do is really remarkable. And so I'm really happy because they've been cut. We asked for the budget for a couple of years and it was always cut out. So that's why I'm asking, are we finally getting it good? Because I think they deserve to have some pay for the work that they do. One other question, and that's under the facilities. Do we have a plan for the most needy facilities? Do we have a plan, a work plan, as to which facilities are going to get repaired, or is this just as needed?
We do have a priority list of a variety of infrastructure needs, and I tell you, the infrastructure needs continue to grow, and there's not enough budget. So we're going to utilize with what we have, and then, of course, come back to the table and request for additional funding, and a sustainable funding. The infrastructure of our fire stations and other work locations have been underfunded for many, many years, and our game plan is to utilize the money that was allocated and then build on that.
Okay, very good. I hope we'll continue to look for a way of getting a bond or a tax of some kind too, because our facilities, some of them are 50 or more years old, and they need a lot of help. They really need a lot of help. Thank you very much for the report. It was well organized, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Chief, for the budget.
Thank you.
Commissioner DeLucis has one more question.
Don't go away.
Don't go away.
Sorry.
That was too quick.
I'm not sure you're the person to answer
Did you
it.
see her? She said,
Yeah, yeah.
almost got away.
I just wanted to ask about the cardiac monitors. It's priority 10. Captain Felix told me that every rig should have a Lucas device, if I got that name right. Are these them? Is this those? And I don't know what a Lucas device is. I'm sure Chief Dixon will, though.
It's,
Yeah, we can go ahead and give you a little background, Chief
Just
Dixon.
Or you can tell me we'll talk about it another time, but do you know what a Lucas device is?
Yes, ma'am. It's a short answer. Again, Tyler Dixon, Assistant Chief, EMS Bureau. Lucas device and cardiac monitor are two different tools or pieces of equipment. What you see in the budget here is a cardiac monitor, EKG, defibrillator. The Lucas device is an automated chest compression device,
Okay.
which the department is pursuing grant funding outside of the budget that's before you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
you good?
Please tell him I asked the question.
Commissioner DeLucis, are you
Felix, I'm
good?
done. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So that actually concludes our printed agenda for this meeting. And I would, what?
We need to receive and file the budget.
Yeah, we're going to have the recommendation for B, where we're going to receive and file it. So can I get motion?
Madam President, I move that we receive and file BFC 23-070.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. I'd like to thank those in the audience that had to wait while we were having a little bit of technical difficulty. That's important because you all have jobs to do, and that you take the time out of your day to come to the commission meeting. So thank you for that, and we are officially adjourned.
I'm sorry, Madam President, there needs to be a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Very good.